Thank you.
Oh, no, this little one. This little guy. Go up or down. Wherever you want.
I'm not really sure where I'm going
There
with this.
you go.
I'm going here. Thank you. It has been an amazing night. I reached out from under the covers to switch off the bedside lamp and heard him sigh, "I don't know how much more of this I can take." We lay there in the dark, him looking up at the ceiling, hands folded over his chest, my back to him, body curled around the empty space next to the bed. These postures had become our usual bedtime routine. My husband wanted more sex, and he wasn't the only one. But I didn't respond to him. I was exhausted by the merry-go-round nature of this conversation that would eventually end in frustration and tears, leaving my eyes nearly swollen shut by the morning from the sobs I would pour into the pillow, muffling the sounds from my children, while my husband, wounded and stoic, would be silenced by my unraveling. We'd been having this argument for years, one of us begging the other to satisfy some need, only to find that it seemed to be conditional on the other one going first. It's a common but heart-rending standoff. So I waited in the dark for the change in his breathing to signal that he had stopped waiting for me to respond. Just 8 months before, we'd renewed our vows in a lively and well-attended celebration of our 10th anniversary, full of faith that our deep love and devotion would see us through this rough patch. The first time we got married, it was at a town hall, the baby in my womb rapidly dividing her cells while we said, "I do." "We'll have a wedding at our 10th anniversary," we said to each other on the way home. "We'll spend that money when we're sure this shit has worked out." Because after 10 years, you can be sure. We had another daughter, bought a house. We struggled in the way a young family does, but mostly we built a hell of a family with basically no experience. And over the years, my idea of what a marriage should look like changed. And each time I found a need within me that my loving husband seemed unable to meet, I bent and sculpted my idea of love into a different shape. I found ways to meet my own needs. I got rid of fairy tale ideas of romance. I spoke up, I got quiet, I made friends, I asked questions, but mostly I remembered that love and commitment isn't magic. It takes hard work and sacrifice. But that night, my husband's words had moved through me like a thin wire sliding into a keyhole. I jostled the tumblers, clicked open the lock, and released me. I pulled the blankets to my chin and wondered, why is it that I am ready to take so much more of this? The next morning, I unclenched my jaw, massaged my hands, which would routinely ball into tight fists in the night. We got dressed, discussed the day, made breakfast and coffee. It was comfortable, with no mention of the previous night's disgruntled pillow talk, and this too was part of our routine. My kids and I were headed out to the Berkshires for a week of volunteering at a retreat center that felt as much like home to us as our own. And as I packed the car, my husband's words came back to me. And the gentle unlocking that had begun in the quiet of my bedroom swung wildly open. And I looked at this happy little scene before me, my kids laughing and bickering, my dog jumping into the car, my husband asking from the porch if I wanted coffee to go. And somehow, the idea that he was nearing the end of his rope had alerted me to the fact that my own had unraveled some time ago, leaving me in a free fall, grasping for handholds of family and children, ideas of love and commitment. And this plummet, noticing this plummet I had been in for who knows how long, had left me shaken, and I drove the 3 hours west in silence. By the time I reached the hills and drove carefully around the semi-spiraling turns along the river, a question dipped and flowed through my heart. What do I do now? And I asked, what do I do, like a prayer, without any of the anxiety that had followed arguments in the past when I was terrified of losing the family we'd worked so hard to create, or was preoccupied with how much people needed from me. Now, this time there was no fear. It was just honest unknowing asked in total surrender. And once asked, it repeated over and over, more instruction than question. The next day, I painted, cleaned, and organized for the center, all to the rhythmic pulse of these words. And I was on my way to make kindling when I heard in passing that a job had opened up the morning after I'd arrived. I gathered wood, I found an axe. And again, I heard myself wonder, what do I do? And for the second time in a few days, I found myself stunned. Now, I do not believe in destiny, but I am truly devoted to opportunity. And I knew that this job came with a home. I knew there was a good opportunity for my kids to be with me, and they already loved this place. I put the axe down, I went inside and asked for the job. 2 days later, with a contract I'd signed, folded and crumpled in my back pocket, I drove up my darkened street to where our home sat, sheltering my unknowing husband from the storm that would come to wash us all away. If I'd known the way my children's faces would contort in horror when we told them, or what my husband's voice would sound like when he said there was no room for me in our home, or that after 10 years of homeschooling my children, they would live 3 hours away from me and attend public school. If I'd known how much strength I would need to take the blame and keep the peace while my heart bled through my chest, soaking the distance I'd created between us, or how wide the mouth of grief can get, and how wholly swallowed I would become if I'd known. If I'd known what it would feel like to hold my youngest daughter while she sobbed and hear her tell me that I had broken her heart, I might have lost my nerve. And I'm grateful that this once my imagination failed me. And I'm glad I stayed as long as I did, that I waited, worked, and rearranged the furniture in my heart over and over, trying to make the love I was being offered fit within me. This is one of the few times that hard work has failed me, but it's good to have the sore muscles to prove that I tried. When I gave up on my marriage, I walked away from the idea that I can fix anything with words and determination. I opened my fist and let fly the belief that love is enough. I let the soft whisper of failure close my eyes as it brushed against my cheek. I knelt before the burnt offering of my children's childhood. I let the hearts of the ones I love break all around me, felt the shards pierce me like shrapnel. I watched the faces of my friends and family mirror my own shock as I carefully closed my hands around my heart and chose myself. Thank you.